own triumphant life story? If so, this podcast is for you. Listen to powerful guests who have persevered through challenges so you can gain strength to build your championship life. The host of Professor of Perseverance podcast, Dr. James Perdue.
Hey, it's going to get started here. It's time for us to get some inspiration, motivation, some fire me up little golden nuggets, something that's going to help you get through your next trials and tribulation. And I've always say, pay it forward. Don't take it to the grave with you. Share it out with someone else to help them. And 100 years from now, that piece of advice of yours going to help somebody else. All right. Thanks for being here today. And of course, I'm Dr. James Perdue. Don't take that doctor as, well, I can't write out a prescription, but I can drive you to your pharmacy if you need me to. Hey, our guest for today, she was at 1,600 feet at Mount Kilimanjaro. And then some tragedy, mishap, something unexpected took place. And she's going to jump us into the story. Welcome to the show, Nancy Deyo.
Thank you, James. It's really good to be here.
Well, we're glad you're here. And appreciate you coming in and sharing your journey so we can help other people. So, all right, if you could, and again, before I forget, forthcoming memoir, okay, it's still on the works, but please keep working on it. Please get it out there. Mine only took 12 years to get it finally done. Please don't take 12 years, but get it out there. We all have a story that we should share. It's going to help someone. So keep working on yours. All right, Nancy, again, thank you for being here. Go ahead and jump us into your story where you think is best for us to get in.
Sure. Thank you, James. Well, Kilimanjaro for me was more than just a test of endurance. It really was, for me, a second chance to redeem myself after a business that I was running in Silicon Valley failed, and I had to sell it to my arch rival. So I went to that mountain, the tallest mountain in Africa, to prove something to myself, that I could still succeed, that I could persevere, that I could push through. But there I was, like you said, at 16,000 feet. I was 41 years old. I was alone in this tiny orange and gray tent, and I had collapsed and I couldn't move my legs. And they felt like they were disconnected from my body. And when I tried to shift, it felt like somebody was just driving a steel rod through my spine. And it was so frightening. I had two thoughts. My first thought was, I might be dying. Maybe I'm bleeding out. And my second thought was, my whole life, all I've ever done is push harder, run faster, outlast everybody else. And all of a sudden pushing isn't working for me. And something fundamental had happened. And I realized that when pushing through doesn't work, it challenged everything about who I was. And today we're going to talk about resilience and perseverance. And it took me 15 years to learn that for me, resilience wasn't about pushing through. It was about finding a really different way to live.
Yep. Now, let me ask this. I know I'm jumping ahead and everything. They find out what caused this feeling with your legs not moving, and it's because the atmosphere was different and you just overworked yourself.
Well, that's such a great question, because at 16,000 feet, the altitude, the oxygen is half of what it normally is.
Yeah.
Here at sea level, where most of us spend our time. And I went to Nairobi, Kenya, when I got carried off the mountain, piggyback, because it was the only way to evacuate me.
Okay, hold on. You said a while ago you're the only one person in your orange tent, but you were with a group.
I was with a porter.
Okay.
who was in
Okay.
his own tent, who
Okay.
carried
Okay.
me down
Okay.
the mountain.
So you had to yell and scream for him to know something was up.
Yeah, so
Because you couldn't get up and.
I
Okay. All
could
right.
not,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
was having trouble moving and I certainly couldn't walk. So
Yeah.
he piggybacked me down that mountain. He was a slim guy, but so strong. And he literally ran down the mountain with me to get me to care,
Wow. Okay.
which was a really brave thing to do. And
Mm-hmm.
when I basically went to Kenya for care, 3 doctors in Kenya, in London, and then in San Francisco all looked at my films and said to me, "You're fine. You just need rest. You just need physical therapy. You obviously have really strained yourself." But I knew that something was really wrong with my body. Like when a serious injury happens to all of us, we know that something's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember my hometown guy, my doc, walking into the room with the films in his hand. And I was lying there in the hospital bed in so much pain, just twisting. And I couldn't even make it to the bathroom. I had a commode next to me. My husband was on the other side. And he said to me with great confidence, "I have really good news. I think you're fine. Your films look good." And I just felt like my suffering was somehow being discounted. And so I was
Yeah.
so confused. I started to question myself and whether what my body was telling me was real. And that was devastating. But in time, finally, I found a doctor who was able to do the testing that revealed I had fractured a number of vertebrae in my spine and I needed to have them fused and I needed a new discs. Why they didn't see it before, I think the testing wasn't quite as sophisticated that they had done initially.
Now, what year was this?
Pardon me?
What year was this?
This was 2001.
I was going to say they had MRIs by then.
Oh, yes.
I don't
They
see
were doing
how I don't see
MRIs.
how the MRI didn't pick it up. I don't know.
It's
Okay.
interesting. What was wrong with me sometimes it mimics what looks like strain, and
Okay.
they just didn't see it.
Okay.
But they put me back together with 14 bolts of hardware,
There we
titanium,
go.
and structurally they fixed what was wrong with me. But the problem was by the time I was operated on 6 months after my injury, my pain was so severe that I was already taking OxyContin
Hmm.
to manage the pain.
Let me ask this question here, Nancy. That
Please.
when the other doctors would come in and say, there's nothing here that shows anything's wrong. We're looking at X-rays, MRIs, CTs, just nothing. And so, but we want you to speak to this. And they sent a psychologist or psychiatrist in. Did they ever do that? Did they do that?
I
can
can't believe you're asking that
I
question
I
because,
can see them
yeah.
thinking physically there's nothing going on.
Well,
So you've got to be doing something mentally.
after my first surgery, I went for the post-op visit and the surgeon walked in the room. I was in so much pain. I was lying down in the waiting room.
Yeah.
And he said, "Your films look so good. The surgery was really flawless." And I'm lying on his table with 14 pieces of titanium in my spine.
Yeah.
And I said, "Doc, I am in so much pain. I can't control it. It's really, really horrible." And he looked at me and he said, "Nancy, you seem really anxious. And I actually think I'm going to refer you to psych." So instead of managing the pain and dealing with the pain, he gave me a prescription for Ativan, which is a really powerful anti-anxiety med, and a referral to a psychiatrist. And now, granted, to his credit, physical trauma and mental health are very inextricably entwined. And I probably was very anxious because I was in so much pain. I just didn't know what to do with
Oh,
myself.
yeah.
But it's really difficult because once those words, anxiety, depression, get into your medical chart, it can change the kind of care that you receive or the urgency with which you're treated?
I'm learning, and it's no fault of today's, well, no fault of them, I guess, of their nursing, what I'm talking about. My mom, she had to be put in the hospital 5 years ago, right at the end of the COVID thing. And a lot of nurses were burnt out with all they had to go through. And you got these, people in college are missing a year of school. And so these people weren't getting their last final training. And I could tell the difference with care my mom was getting versus pre COVID. You could tell the difference.
That's
So,
so interesting.
yeah, because of that lack of year when they shut everything down. And
Right.
you could tell a lot of them don't even read the charts. They come in, 6 people come in different time of day and ask the exact same question, and they're not reading the charts. Why would you ask the same question if you read it? So I'm sorry, I'm jumping off on a different story,
Not at
but
all, but,
when you're talking about, yeah, the care and everything, it just made me think of that.
yeah, to your point, though, I think that at this time, which was in the early 2000s, pain wasn't treated as a disease in and of itself. It was a symptom of something underlying that
Hmm.
was causing it. And because it wasn't well understood, oftentimes it was thought that there was another reason. Perhaps it was a psychological reason. So it was a difficult time to have chronic pain. And
And I
so,
can I can see some doctors, especially if you've been on the OxyContin. Uh, I don't know all about the Ativan, how powerful. I just know my mom had a big reverse effect to it, allergic reverse effect to it one time. But when you're talking about all this pain, and they're going, "Oh, here's another one. Just wants to get this medicine to get high." You know what I'm saying? The pain can't be this bad. We don't see anything. They're just wanting, to get their fix. So
it is really difficult because doctors have to be, rightfully so, on the lookout for people that are drug seeking as opposed to
exactly,
just honestly, seriously needing the
yeah, they
pain.
got to be able to tell the difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I entered this period of years when 3 surgeries later, I'm still incapacitated. I'm For some reason, because of the way that my body handled the injury, I'm not really able to sit. And so I spend my days lying down in bed or on a couch stacked with foam because I'm so sensitive to the touch that I can't
yeah,
stand the feeling of anything hard against my spine, and a pile of opioids on the table. And so this was my life, and it was really I lost everything about who I was. You go into these periods
oh
of
yeah,
illness and you just don't recognize yourself. You don't know who you are anymore.
yeah, and you're getting you know I don't understand why they don't listen to me. I'm telling them I'm in pain, but they're going, "Oh, but here, looking at all your charts, it doesn't show." And but you know your body better than they do. At least we all should know our better. And I've had two other podcasts of people talking about chronic pain, and two different people said basically the same thing. We should know our body better than the doctors. How many people go in, the doctor tell them what's wrong, uh, and go from there. Yeah, we should know better than them, and they should take the initiative to listen.
Yeah.
So
You're so right. And we have to trust our bodies and trust the messages that they're sending to our brains. And if the message that's being sent to your brain is that there's pain, it's something to pay attention to.
something's wrong.
Yeah, something's wrong.
Yeah.
So, if I just fast forward a little bit
Well, let's
about,
back up one more
yes,
time here,
please.
please. You said in the tent you couldn't move your legs and stuff like that. Phil, so after the surgery, before the surgery, did you get back movement?
I did. I did. I think it was shock from what
Yeah.
turned out to be the fractures
Yeah.
in
Yeah. Yeah.
that part of my back. And so thankfully I was able to use my legs, and I was not paralyzed. I had feeling in them. I was just incredibly debilitated by the injury. And about 5 or 6 years in, I felt like I was running out of options. I was dependent on opioids. I was living lying down, shut in my home. I was isolated. It was very lonely. I wasn't sure what the doctors in San Francisco, California, where I lived at the time, had to offer me. And so I went to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota for a pain rehabilitation program. They had a very special program for people with chronic pain and a drug detox. And the interesting thing about that program, James, is that in a way, it used the same strategy I used to use of pushing my way through everything, just work harder, push harder, work longer. And in the first week, they just pulled all the drugs out from under me. And you can imagine, for all your community out there, anybody who's taken strong painkillers, withdrawal is a very real thing.
Yes, it is.
And it's really, really hard on the body. It's hard neurologically. It's hard on the emotions. You're sick. You can't sleep. Your skin's crawling. And then when you're just starting to get through that, they force back physical function. So I was lying on the floor and they got me on my feet, making me push myself to sit despite working with the pain. And I left there thinking, maybe I can get part of my life back. This maybe I just wasn't pushing hard enough. And so 2 days after I got home, I completely crashed. I was in intractable pain. I was hospitalized to try to get a grip on it and to manage it. And once again, the doctors walked into my room after testing me, pharmacologically, psychologically, orthopedically, neurologically, and said, structurally, your back is fixed and we just don't have any more for you. We're going to send you home. And I was just at rock bottom. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm back on opioids. I'm still flat on my back. I've had 6 years of hell. And I'm thinking, this is my life. And I realized that, number one, maybe the medical system didn't have anything more for me. And honestly, respectfully, maybe they had done the best they could. And maybe this was my situation. And the second thing I thought was, I'm on my own. Something's got to change. And if I want to find a way to live a life, I need to find a completely different way forward that's not about pushing. And so I was working after this with a therapist she was quite wonderful. She was managing her own debilitating pain from spinal stenosis and had managed her life and was living upright and vertical and much different from the way I was living. And she kept floating this idea with me of the new normal. And for me, that was this horrible, monochromatic, isolated life that I was living flat on my back and not the person that I used to be. But she said, no, it doesn't have to be that. You have to just stop fighting yourself enough to have energy to find a different way forward. And she was really right. And I sat and I really thought about it. What can I do? If I'm really listening to my body, the thing that I really can't do is sit for a long period of time. But the thing I can do is use my brain and use my mind in a different, learn and maybe re-enter the world, but differently. And so I was very determined not to spend the rest of my life in my bedroom. And so I had a quest to support women and girls. I went back to graduate school. I applied. I was accepted to a university in San Francisco. And at first I deferred because I just thought, maybe if I wait one more year, I'll be back to normal. But then I realized, no, that's not going to happen. And so my husband and I came up with this idea of an army cot that was portable and foldable, and
Oh
I
yeah.
put it in a little cart and take it into the classroom and blow up an inflatable mattress and lie down there right in the middle of that room and learn.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I have to say that I remember the orientation day because it was a little scary. I hadn't been out in the world lying down, and I was lying on a cot, and it was my turn to introduce myself. And I just, prop myself up on an elbow so I could hold my head up at the level of the people that were sitting at the round tables next to
Yeah.
me. And I said, I'm Nancy. I had a serious spine injury on Kilimanjaro, and this is how I'm going to be in class. And I just want you to know that I'm okay with it, so you can be too. And it was just my way of trying to put them at ease and putting myself out there just honestly with my limits in full view. And the crazy thing was, I made it through grad school lying down. And what I realized is that I am just not defined by this disability.
Hmm.
I'm a person that has something that they want to share and contribute to the world. I just happen to do it lying down.
That's it. Hey,
And so,
there's worse ways in life to live, right?
oh my gosh, so true. And so from there, I thought, well, maybe I had been quite a traveler, and I loved going to new cultures and meeting interesting people and learning new things. And maybe I could travel if I could lie down. And, of course, today, if you happen to be wealthy, which I'm not, and be in first class, you can lie down. But in coach, you can't lie down. But I would buy 3 seats and I would spread myself across them, and I started to travel. And then I went back to work.
My aunt, I don't know the whole story, but somehow she fell. You know these tents they put up, and they got the stakes with the rope to hold the tent when they put it up. Somehow she fell and on one of those stakes, and it punctured her back, and she was in, like you said, a pain
Uh,
basically the rest of her life. But her and my uncle traveled a lot, so most of the time whenever they went anywhere, she got in the back seat of the car and stretched out and laid out, and he
yeah,
did all the driving, and they saw all 48 of our continent here, and they didn't make it to Alaska and Hawaii, but they saw all 48 states here. So, but she get in the back seat and stretch out and lay out, and they just talk back and forth that way. So
yeah,
yeah,
it's beautiful. It's all possible. You just have to be
got to
willing.
be creative.
Yes, you do. You have to open your mind to possibility and realize that even with limits, there's so much that you can do. And it opened up a life to me. And the thing that was just insane about it was, as I dragged that cot into that graduate school classroom and set it up, my muscles, which had completely vanished, I was so deconditioned, started to build again. And my strength, as I started to travel and work, started to come back. And I found I could sit a little bit, and I got stronger. And as I got stronger, the pain started to ebb, which it really says something about movement and strength despite having pain and disability. And my mode used to be to freeze. I'm going to lie in bed until this pain ebbs. But I think what I learned in such a different way when I re-entered the world was that I was stronger than I thought, and I was able to rebuild, which is why you see me sitting here having this conversation with you.
I believe we all are stronger than we think in some points in life, and we had to be put into a situation where we learn how strong we really are. We just forget it, along the way, things like that. So yeah, we're a lot stronger than we. Uh, some of us have gone through more than a lot of people, and they've been able to get through it because they're strong. Okay, and sometimes we go through things because it's our own choices that we make. Sometimes we're thrown into it. Say, for instance, if you got hit by a drunk driver, and but still we get through situations because we have that desire to persevere and the strength to overcome.
I think you're so right, James. I think we have resilience that we won't even understand or have language to describe it until we're tested in this way. And I have to say that there were years when I wasn't sure I had any of that, but I certainly wasn't willing to give up.
Well, like you said, when you hit rock bottom, I mean, everything hits, not just physically, mentally, emotionally,
Oh, yes.
spiritually. Everything just goes, and you going, what am I doing here? What's going on here? I can't do this. I can't do. And we think about all the stuff we can't do instead of things we can do and to improve on it.
Absolutely. I think for me, a turning point was sitting down and trying to figure out what can I do? What can't I do?
Yeah.
And there are things in life that, none of us chose that these things would happen to us. And
Yeah,
I'm sure
exactly.
your listeners agree, but they do. Things happen, random, really unfortunate, tragic things that change our lives. And if we still focus on the things that we are still able to do, whether it's able-bodied, able-minded, then we can find a new and different way forward.
Have you ever heard of W. Mitchell? First name W, the letter W, Mitchell. He was,
Yeah.
I think, and I actually think it was in San Francisco. I'll have to go back and read his book to be sure. But he's become my mentor. He doesn't know it. But in, I think it was like 1969, he was in a motorcycle accident and he got 60% of his body burnt in his face, lost his fingers, had to do all that skin graft and everything. About 5 years later, he peeled up the best he could from the motorcycle. He was learning to drive these, fly these, these Cessna planes, and he come down and had some people with him to show me flying, and come down to land, and the plane bounced a couple of times to land, and everybody got out, and when he went to get out, he couldn't move his legs. The bounce hit it and broke his back. So here's a guy that's been burnt that bad, now paralyzed. Part of his motto or theme in life is he goes, I used to concentrate on the 10,000 things I used to be able to do. Okay. Now I concentrate on the 9,000 I can do, not the 1,000 I can't do. And so that's how he tried to put it together. So yeah, if we concentrate on what we can still do, we can find out there's still more in life than what we can't do. May not be exactly what we want it. May definitely won't be a perfect life, but it could be a good life.
Hear, hear. I completely agree with that.
So, well, I'm glad that you found your way. Sorry you had to go through everything, but I've had several podcast people that I've interviewed say this, and not everybody said, but I haven't brought it up either every time. But they said I wouldn't wish this on anybody, but I'm glad I went through it because it has showed me what I'm really made of. So same thing with me. I wouldn't wish anybody to be paralyzed in a wheelchair, but I got to admit my life's been pretty good, So it's not perfect. It would never be perfect anyway, but it's not like 100 years ago. In your condition as well, 100 years ago, like you said, you'd just be laying in bed until you died. There was no
Absolutely.
there was no way out then to do anything. So I tell people, not that I'm glad I'm disabled, but I'm glad I'm disabled in this era because of all the new technology and stuff like this.
Absolutely. Could not agree more.
So, well, tell us about your memoir again. The name of it
Yes,
you're expecting to be, and
that's
what's
so
going on with it.
the book is finished. It is making its way into the world. It is called Perilous Ascent. And I wrote it because there aren't a lot of it's a memoir. There aren't a lot of memoirs that don't romanticize survival. And view them as a triumph. And I think that we need to tell the true, honest, raw, messy, difficult stories of how our lives turned upside down. And if we were lucky enough to find a way, then that's a new definition of resilience that I'd like to bring to the world, to realize that you don't have to push your way through everything, and that there are ways to persevere and succeed without that. And of course, just like you're doing, James, I feel like there are people that would read this and see their own stories, and maybe it will help them. And if it helps one person, then it's worth every word that I wrote.
Oh, exactly. That's it. And that's the old saying people say, if I can just help that one person, I'm greedy. I want more than one now. Okay, so I want more than one now. But you mentioned something here about turning the world upside down. Um, Deb Scott, she wrote a book and it's called. Let me make sure I get it right. The sky is green and the grass is blue, and subtitle turning your upside down world right side up. So
Love it.
that's pretty good book, Dep Scott. So all right, well, I'm looking forward to your manuscript to be published, get it out there, and help people. Let me give you a little hint on your first book here. Uh, Make a second edition later on as things go on. Okay, just keep there and just add another chapter or two. I need to do mine to go back and add to it now, but work on other books to help other people. And here's the big thing: you're going to find out from 2 or 3, 10, 50 people, depending on how you helped them. But you're not going to hear from hundreds that's read your book, and you'll never know because they won't reach out. But you got to know and keep the faith that you've planted the seed and you're helping people. So,
Yes, I love
uh,
that.
the big example I can give there, I was twice, and this happened a year apart. A year apart. This story that I was going, I'm not helping anybody. Nothing's going on. I'm going to quit doing all this, quit doing all that. And it's like God come kicking me in the butt. Nobody, you're not done yet. So what had happened is I went to the store and had my service dog, Ricardo, with me. And a girl come by and says, hey, there's Ricardo. I said, oh, you met Ricardo? I said, he meets so many people, I can't keep up with it. She says, no, I hadn't met him before, but he's on the front cover of your book. I said, yeah. And then she says, then I asked her, I said, if you don't mind, how did you get my book? Someone referred to you, you Google motivational book or something, and it popped up. Did you find it laying in a trash can or a gutter? And uh, so before I tell you the answer, a year later, same thing. I'm not helping nobody. I am quitting all this. And it's like God kicking me in the tail again. Go to the store with my boy Ricardo, and I hear this guy come behind me, Mr. Purdue, Mr. Purdue. And so the first thing I'm thinking is a former student. I taught school for a while, and I thought former student. Turned around, had no idea who he was. And he says, I just want to let you know I read your book and it's going to help me in life. I said,
Oh,
really? And I said, really? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, if you don't mind, same thing. How did you find my book? Laying in the trash, in the gutter, someone referred it. Here's where both stories come out the same. And after this, I don't question it. I just plant the seed. Hopefully somebody's getting something. Here's the both answer exactly the same. I was locked up in the county jail where I live, in the county jail, and my book is in the county jail library. And they read it while they were locked up. So you talk about having a captive audience.
I
So
love it.
so after that, I go, yeah, you just plant the seeds. Can't worry about if people are getting it or not. Somehow they're getting it. So just letting you know, you'll
Thank
hear
you.
from you'll hear from some people, but you won't hear from a lot of people.
From a well-known author to a maybe debut author, I appreciate the insight.
Oh, you're going to do great. I can feel it. So, all right, Nancy. Hey, I appreciate you being here and sharing your journey and your story. Have you been back up the old mountain? Have you tried that?
I haven't been back up Kilimanjaro, but I'm up to my old tricks in the mountains up wherever I'm traveling. So I there's something about being in the mountains at high altitude that just makes you feel the sky and the earth, and I couldn't live without it. So
Yeah, it's a good lack of oxygen. You're hallucinating, right? So, all right. Well, thank you, Nancy, for being here. Go ahead and give people your social media. Uh, when do you think possible your book will be out?
hoping next year. And
Next year,
in the
okay.
meantime, I have a Substack called Life Inside Pain, where I talk about resilience and insights and things I've learned in my journey. So people can find that at nancydeyo.substack.com. And I would just welcome the community. I'd love to hear your stories. And if there are listeners out there who want to follow along, please join me.
Amen, sister. I tell people that I'm interviewing, selfishly, I get fired up and inspired before everybody else, unless they come in and listen on the podcast. But selfishly, I get fired up from hearing your story and other people before everybody else gets to hear it. So I hate to be selfish, but that's the way it happens. So, all right. Thought I was going to ask something else. I got this sometimers. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't. So, oh well. All right. Nancy, if you don't mind, then we know people are hurting and struggling. And if you can leave us with a positive message.
Absolutely. I think for anybody out there who might be going through a little bit of what I went through, pain's not the enemy. It's just good information that most of us are taught to ignore. And if I learned anything in my 15-year journey, it's trust your body. Even if other people don't understand it, your body's not unreliable because what you're feeling is tough to fix or unresponsive to treatment. You're choosing to live in the truth of the moment. And when you do that, your life can change shape. So resilience is so much about listening to that body, listening to those messages, and doing what you can do, what you uniquely can do to change your life.
And remember, you know your body better than your doctor. Even though he may act like he knows more, you're the one that knows it better than him. So from there. Hey, and let me go back to this question. You said they found this fracture and stuff in your vertebrae and everything. Have you ever been able to figure out how that may have happened from a fall? I don't know, lack of nutrition,
Such a good
and
question.
and the density, bone density was shallow. I mean, have you? So just
Yeah,
wondering.
my bones are very fragile and brittle. My bone density is horrible. And the crazy thing about how I think it happened is that a couple weeks before I started the climb, I felt like I really strained my back running on a broken Stairmaster, if you remember those back in the
Oh yeah,
day.
oh yeah.
And I climbed anyway because I was an athlete and I just thought, well, I can compartmentalize this. I just need to push through it. So in a way, I maybe had no business going up that mountain in the first place because I already had the beginnings of that fracture,
Yeah,
and
not
going up
knowingly. Yeah,
just made it worse.
yeah. Okay. I was just wondering about that. If you could think back when that possibly could have happened. So, and the old saying, being an athlete like yourself, the old saying, no pain, no gain. People got to learn that it's totally wrong. Okay. It sounds great, but it's not no pain, no gain. You got pain. Your body's telling you you need to stop what you're doing. Okay. You get gain from doing everything else correctly and exhausting your muscles and breaking them down to build them back up. But when pain happens, your body's letting you know something's not right. So this sounds good, not correct. So, all right, Nancy, thank you for being here. Everybody else, say thank y'all for. Be sure to look at the Substack. I'll put that link in the show notes to help people find it. I'm Dr. James Purdue, the professor of perseverance. Do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your paralysis.